Hello, my name is Lindsay Maroney. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Artery. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very excited to speak to you on this topic that I'm very passionate about, art and technology, and this new technology of tokenization and blockchain. I wish I could be with you in person, but you may hear my 5-year-old or 5-month-old in the background, and that is why I'm not there. And I apologize that I can't be there in person. But I hope I'm sure it will be a wonderful event. So let's get started. I'm going to share some slides. Okay, on the tokenization of art. So starting with some stats on NFTs specifically. In the past 30 days, there have been 30,000 just art NFT sales, which totals 53 million plus. And that's more than most auction houses are doing in an entire year. So this is an enormous market, even in just fine art NFTs. The most expensive NFT in the art sector sold for 532 million. She is the CryptoPunk you see on the right, number 9998. I say maybe because maybe she sold from her current owner to her, from her same owner. Maybe it was not a real transfer. We're not 100% sure. So the next most expensive then would be Pak by the artist Pak, called The Merge. But still, we're talking about $25 billion worth of total NFT sales volume last year. That's a tenfold growth over the past 2 years, and 40,000 unique buyers in March 2021 alone. So it's an enormous market. Let's zero in specifically on one artist. This is Dmitry Cherniak. He's been in the space for a relatively long period of time, since 2014, working in what's called generative art, meaning he's using code to generate different images. This is his series called Ringers. It's 1,000 NFTs, and he's using his code to create this pegboard effect of a sort of string and peg that he then pauses to come up with these different shapes. One of the pieces recently sold for 5.7 million back in August. The one on the right was just auctioned to benefit Ukraine because of the blue and yellow color for $802,000. It just sold. So these pieces are selling for a substantial amount of money. Obviously, most NFTs are not fine art. Most are selling for, in the 100, maybe up to 1,000 range. But in this fine art space, this has really become a hot market, which doesn't necessarily mean it's a bubble, right? What is tokenization? It is, according to TokenX, the process of putting sensitive or unique information together and exchanging it for non-sensitive information. So this allows us to protect the sensitive information in the token while still preserving business utility, so it can still be traded and used. Obviously, this started for more financial markets, banking, et cetera, but it's also very practical for art because art relies on trust. And so when you're taking this idea of information about art that's often subjective, it's nice to be able to capture it and have it follow the object around. And Artery's thesis is that, well, this works beautifully for digital art, and we can quickly see how this has been put to use with digital art. It also works for physical art. And we want to work, and we do work with the existing experts in the space, the specialists in the space, and they cryptographically sign off on statements about each piece of art, such as an inspection or provenance research, so that we can capture it, secure it in the blockchain, and have that live with the piece of art, have this token live with both physical and digital pieces of art, and even collectibles as the space continues to grow. And these are some of these trust experts. This is our CEO, Nana Decking, our founder and CEO, Nana Decking. He's also known for having been the chairman of the fine art fair TAFAF, the European Fine Art Fair, for many years. And he really became known there for independent verification of objects, inspections, expertise about the objects at the fair, to really give confidence in what you were buying at the fair. That's him there speaking with some of the specialists during the pre-fair inspection period. And when it came to then recording this information on blockchain, it was very clear to him from the very beginning that if you put garbage in the blockchain, you would get garbage out, right? It's the technology itself doesn't make the data true. It's really about what experts are saying and how can you capture their statements. And even if it's not perfect, even if someone made a mistake, you still know at this time, this expert said this, and let's capture that and memorialize it. And this is one of our such partners whose statements we're capturing, Winston Art Group. So that's Nana there with our first launch with that partnership of Elizabeth von Habsburg from Winston Fine Art. They're one of the world's largest independent appraisers, dealing with billions of dollars worth of art each year. Some other partners. So you'll see there's a mix here of traditional partners, the major auction houses, that are signing off on the inspections, on the sales, on the appraisals, for example, but then also newer ones dealing with digital art, crypto art, such as the Crypto and Digital Art Fair, CADAF. And these new media that these artists are working in, this digital art, capturing it in a token, et cetera. This is the screenshot from the Crypto Museum. And they're relying on the same trust mechanisms that the traditional art market is. What's the provenance of the token? Who's owned it before? Has the artist signed off? Is it authentic? All of these things that we've used in traditional art are becoming just as important in digital art and NFTs. One great example of that is the famous Beeple artwork, his Everydays, the first 5,000 days. This was auctioned off at Christie's. It went for $69 million. It was one of the first wholly digital art pieces to go up for auction. And shortly after, of course, when you're talking about huge numbers, there's fraud, right? So shortly after, a hacker was able to sleep mint a supposed second edition of the piece and make it appear as if it was legitimately a transaction on the blockchain. And so these digital participants really are beginning to very quickly rely on the same trust sources that the physical art market has always relied on. In fact, you even need additional trust when it comes to an NFT, being able to know if there's an image connected to it, a JPEG, for example. Where does that JPEG live? Is it in a place that's secure, or is it just on somebody's home computer? Something like this. Where is that JPEG hosted? The blockchain can secure that URL of the JPEG forever, but it can't take the whole JPEG. It's too much data to put on the chain. So it has to link to an image somewhere else. And where's that image stored? These types of things are important to know when you're investing in a digital piece of art or an NFT. So that brings us a bit to how can we verify an NFT? How can we make sure that the piece is authentic, is original, has a healthy provenance, that you have title to it if you own the piece? These are the things that a verified or certified Artery NFT have. We're checking all of this data for a digital piece of art, and we're connecting the Artery NFT, the certified NFT, to the tradable NFT. This is an example of what one looks like on our website. It's signed off by CADAF, the Crypto and Digital Art Fair, and in this case also by the artist, which is great. So that means from the very first moment that artwork leaves the artist's studio, the artist is saying, this is my piece, this is authentic, I've worked on it, it's cryptographically signed, meaning only that artist can sign it with their cryptographic key pair, and it's stored on the blockchain. So it cannot be modified. In this case, it's stored on the Ethereum chain. This is proof of that record. So NFTs, this is our CTO. Timothy Komponchenko, says NFTs have been popularized this past year to represent digital art and collectibles. However, the technology itself is designed to represent unique items of great variety: a ticket to a live event, a deed for a real estate property, and in our case, a title for a physical artwork. So what Artery has been doing is taking this idea of an NFT and the technology for an NFT and applying it to physical artworks. This is an example by Damien Hirst. This is a piece by Pim Palsgraf, and it connects here, as you can see, to a certificate of ownership that's then given digitally to the buyer of the piece. And in some cases, again, even with a physical piece of art signed off by the artist himself, in this case, Giulio Bellotto. And this is the anatomy of that sort of physical art NFT, right? You've got the physical artwork, the digital NFT. We always get asked, how do you physically connect the two? There are different ways. We work with a company called TagSmart out of London that will physically tag the artwork. And then if the tag is tampered with or removed, it's destroyed and we're alerted. And you can secure that physical tag information on the blockchain. In some cases, it's high-res imagery. And in other cases, we take physical custody of the pieces so that you know it's not being traded without the data going along with it. So it's not a perfect fit yet. The art world hasn't accepted a solution here. They don't love tagging, for example, but we're following that and we're tracking that. And in the meantime, we believe this is still important to move forward with. This is an example of the sort of data that's in the code. Provenance, KYC on the owner, diligence on the condition of the piece, AML, all of these things to prepare a piece and record all of the information. All of the work that's already done before you sell a high value piece is then captured in the token. And this is a screenshot from one of the tools as you're going through the checks that we do with our partners. Artery ourselves, we're the technology, we're capturing it, we're tokenizing it. Our partners are the experts. Winston Art Group, for example, they would record a physical inspection, a condition report, evaluation, etc. And this is an example of a token on Algorand, which is another blockchain. It's a more eco-friendly blockchain than Ethereum. And this is their Explorer to be able to see what's been recorded. And of course, a full certificate report. This is just a sample. We haven't NFT'd the Claude Monet you see here, but this is an example of what it could look like, receiving a certificate, a condition report, physical inspection, etc. And this always traveling with you as the owner of the piece. So what's next when it comes to tokenization? I have some predictions, but I think this is a great example of the CryptoPunks having some physical presence. And we're always thinking about really what's the purpose of the tokenization. And this is could not be a more classic piece, right? This is a beautiful Botticelli that recently sold at Sotheby's, called The Man of Sorrows. And you would think this is just a fantastic painting. Of course it is. It sold for $45 million. But you'll see here in the box on the right in the blue, it also has already become a bit of a financial instrument, this guaranteed property, irrevocable bids. There's a lot of financial things going on behind this piece to support the sale of this piece. We did secure this particular piece on the blockchain using Algorand per the auction house's request. And these types of financial instruments are starting with lots of other businesses. So here's an example of Yield Street starting to think about how to use art as an investment vehicle. The Fine Art Group, Bank of America, they're all starting to think about how can we get the value out of this piece of art without you having, as the owner, without you having to sell the piece of art. This is a company called Otis. Yieldstreet has launched their Art Equity Fund, so you can invest in a group of artworks. And according to the Art Basel UBS Art Market Report, high net worth individual collectors have, of course, this drive, this passion for buying and selling art, but they also care about portfolio diversification. They expect ROI. They want to hedge against inflation. They wanted to be part of their philanthropic and their overall portfolio of assets. These are things that banks are looking for. How do we use tokenization and this new technology to help investors reach their goals? According to the Deloitte Art and Finance Report, wealth managers really are lacking the data, the expertise, the tools to know how to help their clients invest in art in the right way. And we believe that tokenization is a great way to do that. I don't have screenshots yet of what's coming, but there are some major things in the pipeline for us just in the next couple months. Some launches of ways to invest in art in a new way with the, of course, underlying trust mechanisms that come with the inspection from an expert such as Winston Art Group. Please don't invest in things that you don't know if you can trust, right? You want to have all the facts. You want to know where the piece is being stored. You want to know that it's been inspected, who inspected it, when did they inspect it, what was the valuation they gave it. All of these things need to be transparent, and all of these things ideally are recorded, signed off on, and we believe should be put in the token that become part of the history of the object. So what else is next? In the coming year, my personal predictions on art and NFTs is that NFTs allow more art to be created by more artists. When you're suddenly able to sell 30,000 art objects a month, that is unprecedented in the sale of art from what we know. So if we're able to open up the art market to more artists, that is a wonderful thing. That increases diversity. And that leads to the second prediction, which is, of course, more patrons. If we can fractionalize art, we can make the investment of art at a lower price point. If you can buy just one token of the 100 tokens created to invest in a piece of art for $1,000 instead of having to pay for the entire object, it both is a risk diversification for an institutional investor so that they have different investment and different assets in their portfolio. And then it also opens up the market to investors at the lower price point, which is exciting. Of course, we're going to see new media as new technology continues to impact this market. We're also going to see new ways to view and display art. We're already seeing museums become more creative in this, art fairs becoming very creative, immersive, metaverse, VR, AR. It's been really exciting to get to see some of these. And finally, of course, art is a financial and investment vehicle. That is what we have seen start with some of the players I just showed you, and it's only going to get more and more exciting very, very quickly. So thank you so much for your time. I wish I could hear the other speakers, and please feel free to reach out. This is my Twitter handle @Lindsay Maroney and my email lindsay.maroney@artery.com. I'd love to hear from you and hear your thoughts on art and tokenization. Thank you so much.